Yeah, nothing can stop me. No. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Susceptible now before the moment flies. In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all, to the edge of it all. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell you good night, 'cause I'll find a better one.
I'm going live right now.
Hey guys, I'm Rob, and welcome to Tank Top Night.
Hey, it's Murph. Yeah, welcome to Rob's Tank Top Night.
What's up, guys? I'm Shay. I'm the only girl wearing a tank top on our show tonight. And welcome to the Waiting Table Podcast. What is up?
Hey,
Hey, look at
got the
that.
tanks.
I love it. You guys look good. Whoever your stylist is. Woo!
Ooh, doggy.
It's the Scott Stapp special right there. I love
I
it.
just need more chest hair.
I
That
need
works.
some chest hair. I'm letting us down, guys. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss with, of course, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob. This is Murph. We got Shay, and we got you guys. So grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and take a seat at the table. Murph, how's it going today, man?
It couldn't be better. It's just things are starting to look up for me personally, my family. Yeah, doing really, really good. Really good. And we can talk more about that later because we're going to be
Sure
talking
will.
about our stories and things like that. But yeah, just doing really good. Nothing to complain about here.
Awesome. Shay, how about you?
Man, I'm doing good. The sunshine, I don't know. I know it like snowed in where you guys are at, but in Oregon, Southern Oregon, it's been beautiful. It was like 80 degrees today, and I'm telling you, it's such a mood booster. So I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm in my new content room. You guys see my little
I love it. I
say,
love it.
That is so awesome. I love it.
so fun stuff moving. And so yeah. How about you, Rob? What's going on in your world?
Bro,
I am very, very busy. I've just been going nonstop. I've been
Has
running
this
on
been like a month of like nonstop for you.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Like every time every time we do a show, I'm just like, okay, guys, I'll get to this right away. And then it's just like nonstop renovations, and work has been super, super busy, and trying to train for all the different things that I've committed myself to. And it is turkey opener week here in Ontario for anyone who does enjoy hunting. Yes, exactly. That's how I call them. I do that. And
Yeah.
it works every time.
What do you do? What do you do, Rob?
Shay, show them.
No, go ahead.
Come on,
That's
all
it.
of us,
That's
all of us, ready? All of us in unison.
No. See how I went for it, and then no. I speak the sexy time language to those turkeys. They know when I
Is that
call
like
them.
a little different tone? It's kind of like
Yeah. It has. I play the music for the.
And they just
intro
come.
for-
They just-
and they
just
come.
come
I
out,
do
yeah.
that, and I do
Every
what you
time.
just did, but slowly and in French. And
Mm.
oh man, do they come! That's what they like. That's what they. I know what the turkey's like, guys.
What a gift. Wow. That's special.
Yes.
Well, Murph, do you want to tell people your big news? I know you've announced it on Instagram, but tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Gosh, there's so much going on. Literally, like in my house right now, people are moving around and handing me food, and I just took a shot, and
I
we're just
saw
kind
that,
of
yeah.
celebrating, and just hanging out. And Liam got here today, and the kids don't want to go to bed because Liam's here, and so it's just like chaos here.
And
So I'm trying to.
Marie's there.
And then I spilled my drink during our Instagram live. My drink was behind my microphone. I didn't see it. I went to ignore an email and I hit the drink, and it's just like chaos right now. But yeah, so yesterday I had an interview at the hospital that I've worked at. Elisa's worked there for a couple years, and she got me in, so to speak. She helped me out, and I knew everybody there. It's a small. I mean, Lansing's not huge, and so know a lot of people there, and so I applied for a nursing assistant position with my background in the autism field. They kind of mesh together. I mean, I'm just feeling really blessed to be there. And so yesterday I applied for a position to work down in the ED, the emergency department, as an ED tech, and I got the job. I got the
awesome.
job. I'm just like over the moon excited about it. I get to help. Something that we do, Elisa and I, we go around the city. We try to help people delivering, turkey dinners on Thanksgiving. Speaking of turkey, and we like to help. Yeah. We like to help our community. We like to be a big part of our community. And now it's like I get to be in the ER, and the community just kind of comes to us, for help and assistance. And so, and I get to be, boots on the ground right there, right at the door. So I'm really excited.
Awesome.
I've never been more excited about any job or position, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be taxing. The schedule's a bit wonky, but man, I'm just super excited.
That's so
If you can't tell, I'm
That's
just really
amazing, man.
excited. Yeah.
Well,
So-
I did have a question to kind of start us off, and it actually applies to Murph and your job history. I have sources, so this is another good reason why you guys should all be nice to me, because I have very valid sources with interesting information that I get. So, Murph, I was going to ask you, what were your chimney sweep days like back in the day?
All right, where did you hear that from?
I have my sources. I can't. It's like kind of like how is it? They're an informant, and so I can't disclose their identity. But I did hear that you were a chimney sweep back in the day. Tell us
I
about
was a
that.
I was a chimney sweep. I worked for a company called Top Hat Chimney down in Grove City, Ohio.
Mhm.
And I never thought that I had a fear of heights, really, until you're up on the roof of this 3-story home holding this metal flashing that needs to go around this, because we did a lot of maintenance and stuff too. And like fireplace, and I ran the showroom. and did sales, and so so
So you
yeah,
could never be Santa Claus, then that's off of the list of possibilities for you.
I got over my fear of heights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after doing it for a while, I I learned some ways to not freak out. But I enjoyed it. It was actually a lot of fun. I did it for maybe just a year or two. Not a, it wasn't. I didn't go career with it. Um, but yeah, it was a cool job. Before that, though, something that I am proud of. I was a Zamboni driver for about 3 years.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a
But
good.
they
What
don't
would
have
you?
a cool Zamboni song. They do have a cool chimney, chimney, chim song,
Mary,
so.
thanks. Yeah, Mary Poppins. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no Zamboni song, but
In
everybody wants to be a
Canada?
Zamboni driver, and I thought
Yeah,
it was
for
cool.
sure.
So,
What's your okay? So this is a Ask Us Anything episode for anyone
Yeah.
who is joining us. And so let me ask a question. What was your favorite job growing up? Right? Like I've had tons and tons and tons of friggin' jobs. What was your favorite job ever? Not even just growing up, ever. And my daughter's here. She wants to say hi.
Hi, Lily.
What's up, girlfriend?
You already started?
Yes, we're starting because it's past your bedtime, bro.
Ask her what she wants to
Wait,
be when
Daddy,
she
don't
grows
take
up.
this
Oh,
off.
what do you want to be when you grow up?
Uh,
Oh gosh. Number 2's coming.
Avocado.
You want to be an avocado when you grow up?
I'm
That's
Yes.
solid.
Okay, go.
I want to be a YouTuber like you.
Oh, she wants to be a YouTuber like me.
Like
No,
you.
she was talking to me.
Oh, you're
She's talking to me.
Shay.
Talking to me.
Did you want to give Shay something?
Mm-mm.
Did you want to show her something? You don't want to show her the heart hands that you always do whenever you talk about Shay?
Oh, there
That's
it is.
not a heart so much. That's like a.
An avocado. No.
Yeah, it's an avocado. Okay, go to bed. You too. Bye. Mwah.
Oh,
Go to bed.
Marcus. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 I have an on-air sign too, and they don't care. I'm
An
just
on
kidding, I
air.
don't know.
Do you really?
No, no.
Oh,
Because I'm a YouTuber. Apparently,
I like how you thought she was talking to you when she was clearly talking to me.
my wife came in here too, as the kids are in here, and she's starting like to critique. She's like, "You gotta clean your office." I'm just like, dude, we're live. We got millions of people watching us right now on
Millions.
YouTube. I'm a YouTuber.
I'm a
Um,
YouTuber.
What was your favorite job ever?
is this for me or for Shay?
For everyone.
Okay,
For-
Shay, go ahead.
For me, it's being a YouTuber. This has been my favorite
too.
job so far. For real though.
True.
Like I had kind of a weird career history in that I didn't really have a long one because I did babysitting for a
Before 10.
while. Yeah, because I'm still a teenager. So
Just
Um,
graduate high school.
Your paper route.
yeah, exactly. No, I did babysitting and like house sitting / pet sitting. And then I worked for a school for a little while, which I wasn't my favorite. And then I went into like my corporate job that I'm still at today. So that's been like my career history really. And
Alright.
doing content creation has been my favorite and all of it. So that's mine.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
How are you, Murph?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely Zamboni driving.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. I mean, it wasn't cake work. There was a bit of a science to it, and I just really enjoyed it. I love being on the ice. I played some hockey and I loved hockey. Grew up in Detroit, hockey town, and I actually moved from Detroit to Zamboni for the Columbus Blue Jackets when they started their franchise, and then the NHL went on strike, and I lost my job. But I Zambonied for 3 years at various different rinks, and got to meet some NHL players here and there, and it was a lot of fun. It was
Was it like really satisfying? Like I imagine doing like was it almost like cathartic? Like
Yeah.
It's like mowing the lawn,
uh-huh.
but way cooler. I
Yeah.
mean, just like so much better. And yeah, I mean, there's a pattern that you have to follow, and I still know the pattern. You gotta crank the auger. You gotta dump water, not too much water in the corners because then it builds up. It gets too wet. There's like a science to it, and I was pretty damn good at it. I think I did good. I think I liked it a lot.
You were a
Honestly.
zinger on the Zamboni.
There
like
you
that.
go.
That's my
There
new
you
shirt.
go.
There you
Zinger on the Zamboni.
go.
Nice.
We're gonna make a sticker of that. Yeah, for sure.
Elise is like, I'm on it.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sticker, babe.
That's awesome.
What about you,
Yeah.
Rob?
What about you?
So I look at my childhood and my high school days very much like in different like 90s and 2000 movies, right? Like so like every time I think back to certain times in my life or certain experiences, I see them as like scenes in a movie.
A
And so my
blockbuster
favorite
movie.
yeah, exactly.
You have
So my
different
favorite
titles for each.
pretty much. My favorite movie, or sorry, my favorite movie. My favorite job was actually working at a movie theater. And so like if you've seen what is it, Waiting, where they're in the restaurant and like any of the movies that are about people who work at somewhere, 40-Year-Old Virgin working at the place that
Circuit
they work
City
at.
or-
Yeah, type
But
thing,
it
right?
wasn't that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was awesome because everyone who worked there were all friends from high school. So it was a group of us that were all friends, and this is when like the big movie theater in our city opened up and took all the business. So it was like dead all the time. It'd be like one person or two people in the movie theater, and then so we would just watch the movies and we would just go in and out and everywhere, and our friends would hang out, and it was just awesome. It was just the best job. I made the best popcorn, and every time I go to a movie theater now and I have popcorn, I'm just like, they didn't put enough salt, or they didn't put enough oil, they didn't do all that crap.
Were you pretty excited when they made the transition from black and white to color? That was
I
probably
was.
the
It
time
was
that you were
good.
there, right?
It was so good. Yeah, it was. No, do you want what was awesome though?
You whippersnapper.
I know these kids these days.
These days.
We
Punk
so
kids.
the marquee to change the movies. I'm freaking old. To change the movies to say what's on in the show times. It was the one where you have to change the letters manually, and right. So like I had to go on the roof, go down this hatch, and it was this metal box in the front, but it was like aluminum, so like the bottom was not strong at all. So you had to stand on these 2x4s and try to put it in there that way. I'm like, this is not safe, but I love doing it. It was just we'd mess up on purpose, and just so I don't know. That was my favorite job, just because it was. I don't know. I always. And in my head, I'm just like, I had that job for like 3 years. It was so good. This is my favorite. I had that job for like, I don't know, like 6 months, 7 months, but it was freaking awesome. Yeah, that was my favorite job.
Nice.
That's amazing.
I quite enjoyed it. So let me ask you these questions now. No, obviously it was at different times in our life. We were at different ages. How would that job have been different if you were at your heaviest? Or if you were heavy back then, if you were at the position you are at now. So let's go in order again. So Shay.
Yeah. So for me, I was actually just thinking about that this week or last week of like, I just did not think that I could ever make a YouTube channel, or that like anything I had to say would be interesting or like worthy of like watching when I was at my heaviest. And it's not because that was true, but that's just how I saw myself then. And I was thinking about that, like, man, that's kind of a bummer, because it would have been cool to have that content to look back on and to help people like in that stage. And so that's why I've just been talking with different people who are thinking about surgery or, bariatric surgery, or in the process of getting it. And I've had a couple people say like, oh, I'd love to do a live with you, like after, a few months after I'm done with surgery, or, when I've lost a certain amount of weight. And I'm like, no, like, why wait for that? Because it's like, your story matters now. And like, let's do it now. And so I think I just didn't have the confidence back then. And it would have been really hard. I think I could have done it still, but it just wasn't the right time for me at that point yet, and that's okay. But yeah, interesting to think about.
How about you, Murph?
Yeah, I mean, if I were at my heaviest, being a Zamboni driver just would not have happened. There's a lot of movement involved. I mean, you got to be, I wouldn't have fit behind the steering wheel, and especially, chimney sweep job. A lot of my jobs. I mean, that was why I quit
Does it.
working. I was at my heaviest and hurting, and there weren't many jobs I could do,
Yeah.
from a wheelchair or from a recliner. And so, yeah, that would have been a lot different. You know, I I'd love an opportunity to drive a Zamboni now. My
Yeah.
my energy is so much different, and I would slay. I would absolutely love it. But I
You
love
put
what
on
I'm
a
doing. I
show
love this.
while you do.
Oh yeah. I'd just write my name in on the ice, and it'd be sweet. But I love what I'm doing now, probably even more than
Yeah.
Zamboni driving, and what I'm about to do. Um, and so it's different to see the contrast in the two, positions and the two different, Murphs.
Yep.
I've got more energy now than I had when I was, 20, 21, 22 as a Zamboni driver. It's just
Mhm.
it's crazy. So different. It's cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Does that answer the question?
No, yeah, it does. It does for
Completely?
sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What about you?
The 2x4s wouldn't hold me, and
Yeah.
I'd go through the aluminum floor.
You would literally turn into Santa.
Yeah. It wouldn't. Yeah, so it wouldn't be good.
YouTube
Um,
YouTube would have never, crashed because of your success.
exactly right, for sure.
You're the only two people.
The other thing is, I just like even with the job I have now, I just think about it when I was big, and I was just so uncomfortable all the time, man. Like how I would stand up and sort of do the talks that I've done in front of hundreds of nurses and medical professionals while being uncomfortable and sweating because I'm in a suit and um all that would just be I think back at it now. I'm just like, how did I do that? How did I do what I did? And I know, like, I knew I was good at my job, but like confidence level is just so
Mhm.
different now compared to back then, right? And so that's why, when I do my job now, it's the same job, that I had before. Like it's night and day between
Mhm.
my output, between my confidence in what I can do, my enjoyment of what I do. Everything's just a lot more efficient. So yeah, it's so night and day. You're talking about all the different jobs that we've had. But yeah, it's just so different. And if I worked at the movie theater while being 380 pounds, I probably wouldn't be I don't think I would have a shirt
Yeah.
because I don't
Mhm.
think they made 5X back then in that shirt. I remember.
Can you guys remind, because we do have like new viewers or people that might not know like our journeys and our stories. Could you kind of do like a quick like stats run through of like, how much you weighed before your surgery, when you got your surgery, what kind of surgery, and like how much you've lost since then? Because I think that's a good reminder.
Yeah. Want me to go first? Okay, cool. Yeah. So, hi, I'm Murph. Uh,
And I like to party.
I
Yeah.
like to party. Yeah. So I had my surgery June 20th of 2021. I've been saying in my stories lately, and even on here, I think I said, I'm 22 months post-op, 22 months post-op, and I've been saying 22 months for like the past 3 months. But I am now 22 months post-op. So I'm just horrible with, numbers. Um, and there's a lot of numbers involved. So when I finally went to the doctor and was weighed in uh, back in at the end of 2020, mid 2020, I guess. I weighed in at 464 pounds, and he had said that if I didn't have this surgery, that I wasn't going to make it to my 40th birthday. And so I started a diet, my own variation of a diet. I cut out carbs, pop, and just started walking more and getting up. I was sleeping in a recliner every night. I couldn't sleep in a bed. Enlarged heart, back problems. Am I explaining too much? Is this okay if I keep going, like the full story? Okay. Um, so back problems, sleep apnea. My calves were swollen and just red all the time. Being pushed around in a wheelchair whenever we'd go places. Um, But while I was waiting for bariatric surgery and approval, and I had to go through all these hoops, it took about 9 months or so. I'd lost 120 pounds, or I'd lost 120 or 100 pounds. The other 20 came off in the 2 week liquid diet. So when I went in for my surgery, I was 344 pounds. Um, Now here I am, post-op, 22 months finally. Um, and I'm down a total. I don't know the math how much I've lost since the surgery, but I'm down 296 pounds as of yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, I like as I'm saying it out loud, it just doesn't make sense. Like I don't.
After
I don't
having which
understand it.
surgery? Just so people
Yes, thank
know.
you. Sleeve. I had the gastric sleeve, so I had 80 to 85% of my stomach removed, and yeah, and now I'm almost at 300 pounds total lost, and starting a new job, a new career, a new interest. I started skateboarding recently with my boys. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus from skateboarding just till I get my neck healed up, and I don't want another fall to especially with the new job coming. But man, life is just so drastically different. Like
Yeah.
it's just crazy. And so that's my story kind of in a nutshell. Working on a lot of mental health, and if I had one thing to tell my old self, either 20 years ago or 22 months ago, I would say, get right in the head, first. Go through some mental um, health specialists, and just take care of that mental aspect of things, because that's really been the hardest part of this whole journey for
Hmm.
me is looking in the mirror and seeing a different face and a different body, and so many other things. And so mental health is just really huge. It's very understated, underrated. When having bariatric surgery, you have to get your 6 sessions with the therapist in, but it's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be more than that. You need to have more continuous therapy. And so that's my big takeaway from this, anyways. Um, and yeah, so that's me. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
I like it. I like it.
Chin chin, all right.
Yeah.
That's how you just exit off.
Yeah, just
I like it. And this ends. My name is Rob. I like to party as well.
hi, Rob.
There it
And
is.
hi, Rob.
I know for a fact you don't party.
No, I never party. I am a nice, quiet, stay-at-home, homebody type man, boy, man, boy,
Man, boy.
man, boy. They call me man,
Good
boy.
job.
Yeah. So for myself, my largest or heaviest recorded weight was 379 pounds. I often say 380 because it's easier to say than 79. I feel like I was for sure at 400 pounds, but at that time, I did not want to ever test my scale. I think the limit was 400, and so I always I'd always joke that I'm going to break it, knowing that I would probably be already at, and then I'd get the dreaded zero, where it sort of goes around, and you're just like, I think it's broken. It's like, no, I broke it. So yeah, that was my my heaviest weight. I was wearing 5X shirts and pants and everything. Similar to Murph, and that's why I think when Murph and I started this podcast, I was so drawn to Murph. We have so many things in common. A lot of our ailments we had in common. So I also slept in a recliner for many months because of back pain. I have 4 herniated discs from injuries from when I was younger, but I obviously having the weight exacerbated it. I was walking with a cane by the age of maybe like 35, 36. I started walking with a cane. When we would go to certain places, I would be in a wheelchair because it was very difficult for me to walk anywhere really. And so same thing in large heart. I I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic, everything, bad apnea. It's just, yeah, it's bad. I was on over 15 medications before the surgery. Before I started losing the weight for the surgery. And the big thing that got things moving for me was twofold. One, I was constantly in pain, and unfortunately, pain is something that gets us moving and gets us to act. Pain, money, those are some of the different things that cause us to make changes, as opposed to, we know it's good for us, or the health, or everything like that. And the other thing was, my mom had passed in 2019. And she was young when she had passed. My dad had passed a couple years prior, or a few years prior. So I lost both my parents in the early 60s. And at that time, I was, 38, 37, 38. And, I sort of had a discussion with myself and did some math and realized that if there's any correlation between my health and the mortality of my parents, because they weren't unhealthy when they were my age, then I would have less than 25 years to live. 25, 30 years. I look back at it now, and I think I would have been dead in 5 to 10 years. But, assessing my life, assessing me as a parent and as a husband, and me spending so much time watching my kids grow up. I use a term often on the show that I was an absentee parent, but I was present at the same time, like a present absentee parent. And it's because I was there physically, but I was doing everything from a chair, right? I was watching other people do things to help raise my kids and do things to spend time with my kids that I wish I could go back and have done. But I didn't, because I wasn't able to. And so, yeah, having the surgery was big for me. I had lost 100 pounds prior. No, sorry. Yeah, 100 pounds prior to surgery. And yeah, it's been amazing. And one of the big things that I've gained was, having no mobility and now being able to move. It held me back from so many different things. My kids are very, very active, and it prevented me from doing a lot of things with them. And now I'm able to do all those different things. And I've always been an athletic person, even when I was big, prior to me being unable to move. And that's why it was so debilitating for me to not be able to move. And so it's really helped me regain my love of movement again, whether it's cycling, whether it's triathlons, it's swimming and running, whether it's weightlifting again, whether it's new sports like pickleball, which is my current addiction. Yeah, because I'm over 40 now, right? So when
It's
we're
bound to
40,
happen.
yeah, it was going to happen anyways. I'm
wasn't.
at a retirement home, so I just picked it up a bit early. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
And
Yeah,
can you tell people what surgery you got and how much weight you've lost to, just to give them an idea?
Yeah, so I got RNY gastric bypass. That is not where they remove your stomach; it's where they sort of reroute your guts. And so, yeah, they disconnected something and reconnected it somewhere else. And I have a pouch instead of stomach now. And I have lost, on paper, I had gone down to around 168, which would have been 211 pounds lost. But I put a lot of effort to gain back a lot of muscle. Now I went up to 190. Now I'm sitting at around 183 regularly. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Jim.
That's just how we end everything.
That's how we exit everything.
All right. Well, I guess it's me. I'm up. I'm the girl.
It is you.
I'm up. Yeah. So I'm the newest member, and not only to the waiting table, but also the bariatric community. With me, my highest weight was 283 pounds, and I'm about 5'5". And where my journey really began was when I was wanting to get pregnant. Me and my husband, we've been together for now 11 years and married for 7. And I just always thought that when we wanted to have kids, like, we just decide to have kids and it would just happen. And it wasn't that easy. And so looking into fertility health and learning about nutrition and how to actually support my body was a big journey prior to even thinking about having bariatric surgery. And then in December of 2020 is when I got diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, which is a metabolic disorder that can affect fertility, and you get lots of other not so fun symptoms along with it. And I really tried hard for, a solid year or so of trying to lose weight without surgery, and was eating what I needed to. I was moving the way I needed to, and it was just so frustrating. And then I got more education around how obesity is actually a disease. And a lot of times that's not what I was taught about it, especially in culture. We were not taught that. It was always seen, at least for me, as more of a moral issue of like, oh, if I just ate better and exercised, I would lose weight. So I'm being lazy and I'm not doing it right. That's why it's not working. And after kind of learning that a bit more, I was like, well, if this is a disease, what are my treatment options, right? And my mother-in-law had actually had bariatric surgery. She's been on our show, and she was the one that kind of started, asking questions like, is this something you'd be interested in? There's a lot of research that shows women who have PCOS and then have bariatric surgery have really successful pregnancies after. And so is that something you think about? At first I was like, no, I don't think so. I'm going to try to do it the way that I'm doing it. And then after some more time passed, I was like, yeah, this is definitely something I want to look into. And so at that point is when I decided to get bariatric surgery, and I'm so glad I did. I had the gastric sleeve, the same one as Murph. So I lost part of my stomach. I always say it's the part that held me back, for so long. Now it's gone, which is nice. And it's been an interesting journey. So it's been, I just celebrated my 1-year surgiversary, and from my highest weight, I've lost 100 pounds, and I'm kind of in a weird season now where I don't know if I'm in maintenance or if I'm going to lose more, or I might even gain more depending on kind of my movement and gaining muscle. And so going into it, for me, I never really had a goal weight. And I've talked about that before, where part of that was because I didn't think that I would actually lose the weight. I thought, oh yeah, the surgery has worked for everybody else, but I'm going to be different. It's not going to work for me. But it did work. And so now I'm just really working on my metabolic health, preparing my body to hopefully get pregnant one day. And just doing it in a very intuitive way, which has been really freeing, and it's been awesome. So I think I covered all the stats with that, right?
Yeah.
Chimney.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's cool to revisit stories though. I know I've heard your guys' stories a couple of times, but I get something different out of it every time. And it's helpful. It's neat sharing stories and having that there.
Yeah, I feel like we devalue our own stories sometimes because we know our stories, we hear our stories so much, and we share our stories so much. But sometimes it's it's the first time somebody's hearing it or hearing a different part of it. And so that's why it's so important to share those stories. Yeah.
So Murph, you alluded, and I will ask more questions because I like asking questions. You've alluded that,
so nosy, Rob.
I know. Who asks questions? What... I know you mentioned mental health. Is that the biggest takeaway that you've had through this whole journey? If you were to share something with, let's just say you were to share something with someone who's about to have surgery, what would be your big takeaway or your big piece of advice?
I mean, I feel like we don't get to that weight by eating healthy, not just what we put into our mouths. It's usually most cases, from what I've experienced and myself personally, we eat from an unhealthy place. We have an unhealthy relationship with food. We have an unhealthy, childhood, family life, home life, um, work environment. Something unhealthy in our life has led us to this point where we're eating, and it becomes typically, and again for me, and I'm not speaking for everyone that's a part of this community, but it becomes an addiction of sorts.
Yeah.
Or some people would gravitate more towards, alcohol or drugs and substance abuse and things like that. Food, the thing that we need to live, and we can't just quit cold turkey. We got to have it, and there is a mental aspect to it that if we don't tackle that issue with that trauma or whatever the case may be, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
This is again just my opinion. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion. And for me, the mental aspect of the weight loss, the weight gain, and then the weight loss, and then where I am now, it's yeah, I've lost the weight. I've lost almost 300 pounds. Mentally, this has been extremely hard. That's been the hardest part of this whole journey. The weight came off fairly easy for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to be active, so I was active. I wanted to eat healthy, so I ate healthy. I want to think positive thoughts about myself, but I it's a lot harder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've shared, I think when we were talking to the ladies from that other podcast, I'm not even
Road
going
to
to try
Discovery.
because I thank you. I I had a little
Road to
shot
Recovery.
earlier. Yeah, like I said, we're celebrating. So I'd shared, I think on that episode, um, we think 70,000 to 100,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of these thoughts are negative thoughts directed to ourselves. And that's everybody. That's on average. That's everyone, whether you're dealing with weight loss or weight gain or bad food habits or that's the average person, average human being is thinking this many negative thoughts about themselves every day. Now, add on, weight gain, weight loss, surgeries, traumas, add on these, things that are not typical for everybody, or maybe I don't know what the statistics are on that, but mental health, to answer your question from 30 minutes ago, uh, mental health is, I think, the most important aspect of
Yeah.
this journey. Yeah.
And I think it's also important to point out, like, yes, I think some people's journeys have come from having food addictions or, really like eating too much. And I think there's also an aspect of it too that I've experienced that I feel like I don't hear as often, but I think it's really important to call out is that some of us are not eating enough.
Mhm.
And I know, especially for women, our the way our body functions as it relates to nutrition is just different than men's. Like we have, 28-day cycles typically, there's just different components to it. And so for
Yeah.
me, I know that was a big issue where I was doing these yo-yo diets for years of starving my body and then being starving, trying to eat to get enough food. And it was all, and then you have that mental component of like, oh no, I'm binging. But it's like, well, yeah, girl, your body's like freaking hungry. You're not feeding it. And so I think that's important to call out too. Again, remembering that obesity is a disease and that it sometimes looks different, for men and women, but that you could equally have the same issues of excess weight, whether you're eating a lot of food, whether you're eating not very much food, or whether you're eating a balanced diet and what is nutritionally beneficial for you. And so that's just something I've been trying to again, reframe in my mind. And I think it's helpful just to share it out loud because it's not a moral issue. It's not that we were just lazy people. There were a lot of things. It's not as simple as that. There's a lot of complexities involved.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Chimney.
And that's why we have the girl on the show.
That's why you have the girl.
Rob and I wouldn't have, even thought of anything like that. So thanks for
No.
being here, Shay.
Yeah.
Well, it's
That's why we-
interesting.
Welcome.
We'll have a different show.
It's just interesting. Like, I'm gonna get you guys all squirmy here, but it's like just learning about like cycles, like menstrual cycles. Like, I was not taught that.
Motorcycles?
Yeah,
What are we
exactly.
Yeah.
Motorcycles?
Yeah.
I just rode 30K on my cycle.
There
Yeah.
you go. On your menstrual cycle.
Let's talk about cycling. Cycling, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Different kind of cycling. But it's like I wasn't taught about that. Like, and it's amazing how much it's such a big part of women's health, and yet I was not taught about it. And it took wanting to get pregnant and looking into fertility to actually learn about it for the first time. It's like, that's so wild.
Yeah. Wow.
Are you guys uncomfortable yet?
I zoned
Next
out.
question.
This is
Chimney,
important because you guys
Chimney.
both have daughters, and it's important to educate. I mean, maybe if not you educating, making
it'll
sure
be me.
they're educated.
Yeah, no.
I hope not. Just send
Got
it
it.
to
I
me.
got it. I got it on lock.
No.
So when you get your bicycle, you
you do their menstrual cycle in cycling terms. Like,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
what
Do a transition for that one, Rob. Is that
what's your big
good?
takeaway, Shay? Like I know, we talked about cycles and stuff, but if you were to, Bob, for example.
Yeah.
See, we're not going to talk about cycles with Bob, but Bob just had surgery.
Yeah.
What would be your big thing to be like, hey man, this is my piece of advice or nugget or takeaway? Tatiana, there is definitely no crickets here. We got this conversation on lock.
See, I'm having you guys practice with me, so that way when one of the girls comes up and goes, "What's a period?" you guys will be like,
Punctuation at the end of every sentence. You can
Dots.
replace with an exclamation mark, sometimes a semicolon or comma.
Yeah.
Up to you. Question mark also. But
There you go. Perfect. I think for me, the biggest takeaway, because I have been talking with quite a few people that like are newer to bariatric surgery or just about to get the surgery or have just gotten it. I think going into it for me, I was so worried that I was going to fail and that it wasn't going to work for me and that I had to do everything exactly how everybody was telling me to do it. And the biggest takeaway for me is just like, wow, my body is amazing. And the way that it communicates with me is pretty incredible. And I'm thankful that this has given me the opportunity to really like lean into what it's trying to tell me. And so if you're newer to bariatric surgery or you're about to get it, like you're not going to fail at it and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay because that's part of learning and growing, and those are all really important parts of the journey. And so listen to your body, learn how to listen to your body. And I think it's a lot less stressful than I was anticipating it being, or not stressful, but it's a lot simpler than I was anticipating it being. Not necessarily easy. It's been really hard. But it's actually not that complicated.
yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember that first year, that was my biggest fear was like, I'm going to screw this up. Like I'm
Be
gonna
the
mess
one.
this up. And once in a while, I feel like I have that thought sometimes, especially like when I was taking those steroids and I was starting to gain weight and I'm like, oh, yep, here it comes. It's all coming back now, there's always that fear. I feel like in the back of your mind, it gets that. I feel like I've gotten further and further from it, but especially in that first year, I just felt like, I wanted to, there's this pressure to, succeed and, and now we've got a following and, people are, there's some pressure there. Yeah. Yeah. People are invested. I don't want to fail my family. I don't want to fail myself, my doctors, you know what I mean? It's like, I want this to work so bad, not just for me, but, but that it kind of fizzles out after a while,
Well,
it creeps back in, but yeah,
And I think this comment kind of goes along with that. That's good to know. I always feel like I'm doing post-op wrong. Like, I think that's a big thing when it's so
Yeah.
cool that so many people share their stories, and it's really easy to compare. And
Mm.
I think that's another thing that's been a good takeaway is like, just because somebody is doing it a specific way, that might work for them, but it might not work for me. And that's totally okay. Like,
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people that claim to be experts out there, and they might be in their field, and it's very like directive of like, you should do it this way, you shouldn't do it this way, this is the absolute worst thing, this is the absolute best thing. And it's like, I don't know, that's always a red flag. It's like, I've learned how to think more critically this year, and that's been really helpful of like, okay, that might work for them, but like it might not work for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because
What about you, Rob?
body is different.
I know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I love
right.
saying that. All right.
Everybody.
Everybody.
My biggest takeaway is, or biggest, I guess piece of advice I'd give people is, and again, I've said this before, is I think the biggest thing, like we celebrate so many different things on this journey, and I think we often lose sight of the biggest thing that should be celebrated, which is making the decision to have the surgery or to change. We were talking with Ricky, and she made the decision to make this change, right? Because all of this that's happening, everything that we're going through, everything that we've succeeded on, all came down to making the decision to make this change and to live a better life. And for me, what's always been helpful for me specifically, because I know I was working with a mindset coach for the first probably a year and a half actually post-op, and it was so helpful with me understanding the why, and what I'm actually looking for this, because it's very, very, very easy for us to look at the number on a scale and use that as our gauge to success, right? And we often do. I do it, everyone does it at some point, or oftentimes we'll fall back towards that. But then I always think about, there are so many different things that can affect that number. Weighing yourself at different times of the day. I drank more today, water. And I ate something salty. I ate a bit more carbs later on in the day.
I'm gonna bring it full circle. Poop.
I was gonna say, I haven't gone to the bathroom yet. All these things can change that number, and it can change from day to day, from hour to hour, from minute to minute. So why am I letting something that is so unsubstantiated dictate my success, right? So for me, it's things like looking at, am I happy? Obviously there are things like, are my clothes fitting better, or taking measurements, things like that. But at the end of the day is just like, what did I want to gain from this? I want to gain health and happiness. Am I healthy? Well, I'm on 0 medications from 15 medications. So check, right? Am I happy? I can do all these different things with my kids and with my wife. I'm a better wife. I'm a better wife. I'm also a better husband. I play both sometimes. I'm a better husband. I'm a better spouse. I'm a better parent. I'm a better friend as a result of what I can do and the way I can be present for those who are around me. And those are my goals, right? Those are the things that I wanted to fight for. Those were the things that made all these things worth it. And ultimately, those are the things that made every speed bump along this process easy to overcome, right? My wife had made this comment before. This was, I think, maybe like 6 months into my journey post-op, and she was just like, you have yet to complain once about the way you're eating, about what you had to eat or the amount that you're eating, about having to work out. Because at that point, 6, 7, 8 months, I was working out 6 days a week, pretty much from, I think, 2 or 3 months out, which you don't start that early if your medical team doesn't say start that early. I was dumb, like I often am. But for me, it was nonstop go training. And she was just like, you've never complained once. You've never had any issues. Why? What's different? And for me, it was sort of like, I understand what I want, right? I understand why I'm doing this and what I want to achieve. And it's just a matter of me putting in that time, putting the days in, and getting there, right? So it ended up being significantly easier. Murph had mentioned that, it happened pretty easily, right? And for me, it happened very easily. And the reason is, I just think it's the way I approached it. Tatiana asked, "What's a mindset coach?" Some people say it's a life coach. Some people say it's, there are certain ones who are sort of mindset coaches or success coaches when it comes to professional coaching. With the coach that I was working with specifically, it's really about understanding how we control our outlook on everything, and how we can look at different situations and ask ourselves, how's thinking this way serving me? And making the decision to change, right? You can look at everything as hard. You can look at everything as a challenge, or you can say that this is going to happen, but this is where I'm going to get to, and I absolutely will get to that. This is just part of the story, right? And it was very, very helpful for me, and it continues to be. Everything that I've learned from her is something that I practice every day.
I think that's been the craziest part too, is realizing how much choice I have in things.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have more control, it's just that I have more choice and I'm not a victim. And I think for a long time I lived in that space of being a victim. And yeah, really shitty things have happened, and I'm not discounting that, or I won't try to sugarcoat that. And it's been neat to make the choice, right? Like I made the choice for the surgery. I'm making the choice to work to be a full-time content creator. And I think it's scary though to state that, and how I call those dreams, right? Like saying what your dreams are. And it's scary to say them for a lot of different reasons, but it's been neat to recognize and actually have dreams and things to shoot for. Because before I just wasn't really shooting for much, outside of some things, but it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I think that's, these are part of the things that I think we realize as we go on. And I think one of the most exciting things about this journey has been reintroducing myself to all the things I used to do, or even just getting to learn this new person, right? And as much as, obviously it's the same person, it's the same, like a lot of the core values are the same, a lot of the things are the same, but constantly relearning all these different things that you are capable of, and surprising yourself. I find that I surprise myself often with the way that I'm thinking about things, or the way I approach things now, which I wouldn't have done previously. So I think that's a fun little thing that happens post-op, and as you progress on your journey, that totally didn't expect. I didn't see that. I always thought that, I would lose this weight. Great. I would be healthy. I'd be happy. Same guy though. Right. And
so I have a question for you guys kind of pertaining to that. Do you feel like, oh, wow, I'm a completely different person now, or I'm a new person? Or has this experience felt more like a homecoming? Like, oh, I'm who I used to be at a certain age or something. Does that make sense? Or neither?
Yeah.
A little bit of both, I think. It's like I'm skateboarding again, and it's been 20 years plus, since I've skateboarded last. But at the same time, it's almost like doing it for the first time again. It's because now I'm doing it as a father with my kids, and it's a completely different experience where, I was a kid then when I did it, and that it's so it's it's a little bit of both, that's just an example, but I mean other things are like that as well. It's so the same and familiar, yet so completely a different lifestyle, or a completely different person altogether. It's just and I think that's where I'm kind of struggling with a lot of my mindset, with a lot of my thought process and things like that. It's like half the time I feel like I'm dreaming. This doesn't feel real, because I go to sleep at night and I'm still 400 pounds in my dreams.
Interesting.
Like
oh wow.
This is happening to me recently, actually, where I feel back pain, or I feel like I can't move, or I feel, I'm still big in my dreams sometimes, and then I wake up and I look in the mirror and it's just like, whew, that was weird. But oh wait, am I dreaming now? Because I'm not
Yeah.
thin. Am I thin? Like what? Like,
It
it's
hasn't
so
like fully
different.
integrated yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of both, I guess. It's weird, but it's the same. But
Mhm.
it's different. It's
Or
yeah.
are you living in a dream and you're dreaming that you lost 300 pounds this whole time? That
Oh,
would friggin'
Matrix.
suck. Oh my
That
god.
would
If I woke up from a dream and I was back to being 390, you're like, dude, I had a dream that I was
But hey,
180
then you
and
knew
I had a
you could do
podcast. I
it.
was a YouTuber.
Then you knew you could do it though. Be like, okay, I
Yeah.
have the steps and I know what to
Yeah.
do.
yeah.
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 And that's one of the big things. Like when we were working on that mindset, it was sort of like, it's not thinking I can do it. It's knowing I can
Mhm.
do it. It's being there already, like visualizing this is my life. This is what it's going to look like.
Mhm.
And it's cool because I look back at some of the visualizations that I would have. This is it. I am
Mhm.
there. This is exactly it. And I'll feel
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
deja vu at times that I'll be like sitting
Mhm.
there with my kids and something, and I'd be like, I remember writing this down. This is exactly when they're just like,
Mhm.
oh, what was your life going to look like? What will your life be like? And I'd write things down very descriptively, and this is exactly it. So
Mhm.
that's awesome. But yeah, it would still suck.
But
I
yeah.
woke up from a dream and it's like, I had a dream that I was there, but shit.
So what do you think for you, Rob? More of a new self or a homecoming?
Um,
Or both or neither?
I feel like it's just like the best version of myself, right? Like I feel like
Mhm.
you're constantly like there's Murph had to go pee. Oh well, it's been an hour and 2 minutes. It's
He
about
he
time,
did
right?
pretty good, yeah.
He
Well,
did.
and
He
he was
did.
on the full happy hour and had the drink
For sure,
spillage,
right?
and so
Yeah.
it's been a while. I'm proud
Yeah,
of
he
him.
made it, guys. When you turn 40, it happens. Um yeah, I feel like you're constantly just working on yourself and being okay, I'm making these changes. This is me now. Okay, go back to the drawing board. I'm gonna do all these different things. So, part of it is just like, yeah, this is a homecoming. But then at the same time, it's just like I feel like it's not me going back. It's just me just evolving. And
Mhm.
sure, this might pertain to some version of Rob at some point. There were times when I was obviously younger where I had a lot more muscle and I was a lot better in physical shape for in certain aspects, but I feel like this is where I need to be right now. I don't need to have a whole bunch of muscle. I need to be mobile with my kids and able to run with my kids and do all those things, as opposed to I don't necessarily need to like squat 400 pounds, which would still be cool, but that's not where I need to be.
Right.
And so yeah, I just feel like this is this version of Rob is the best version of Rob at this particular moment for what I need to be
Mhm. Yeah, that's
professionally
good.
too, right? Everything, right?
Mhm. And for me, it's been more of a homecoming, like because I've had people say like, "Wow, like you're a completely different person," or "You're like a new person," and I'm like, "Dude, this is who I was when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old." That's
Yeah.
what I feel like, where
So
it's
like
like,
3-4 years ago, right? Like
yeah, just like a couple
that
years ago.
wasn't. Yeah.
And it makes sense for you guys. You've had a much longer, fuller life than I
Yeah,
have, to where
yeah.
it's probably hard for you to remember
Yeah,
yourselves back then.
yeah, I remember the past 4 years. That's it. Back then
That's
it was
about
just
it.
like back in my day.
We got another good question that I
Yeah.
think is a good one to answer.
Yeah.
Come on,
Chimney
Murph.
back, man.
Chimney back on in.
It never fails. Halfway through my going to the bathroom, I think to myself, this is still muted, right? Like they can't hear me. And you're still talking, and I'm like,
Oh
they would
man,
say something, right? Like they would say something if they could.
so you still hear us when we make fun of you every time you go to the
Oh yeah, I heard the
bathroom?
whole thing. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't say
The
it
old
though.
jokes. I was in there like,
No, it was Shay.
yeah,
It was Shay who said it.
yeah.
Well, this is a good question. I think it'd be interesting to hear each of our answers if you guys have time. But was it hard for you all to focus on yourselves? I have a hard time giving myself permission to focus on me. 16 years of pouring into my marriage and kids. I find myself feeling guilty now.
That's a good question. No. Obviously sometimes there is challenges, right? Because like a lot of things I do and a lot of the focus I put into myself now, it's time, right? Um, but at the same time, one, I deserve it now. Like you deserve it as well. You spent 16 years putting everything into your marriage and your kids. So, you need to be a priority in my eyes. You need to be a priority as well. And so you deserve to have that time spent on things that are important to you. But on top of that, I also see how much better of a person I am to my wife and to my kids because I focus on myself, which sometimes it sounds counterintuitive because it's just like, well, I'm not spending all that time with them or whatever the case might be. But when I do spend time with them, I'm happier, I'm more patient, I'm more understanding. I value the time that I spend with them that much more. That and I don't know if my wife would say the same. I'm just going to answer and say, yeah, she would say the same, just because I don't want her to say otherwise. But no, I 100% feel like it's important to prioritize yourself, and you become better for all the people around you when you can prioritize yourself. So um, early on, sure, I did struggle with it a bit, but there's no better time than now to do it, right?
It's funny that you asked that question because literally that's what I'm in the middle of right
Yeah.
now. This whole self-love thing, taking care of myself. I still don't know how to do that. I've gotten to a place, and I'm just being completely honest with you guys. Um, I've gotten to a place where like I need to. Of course, my dogs are lapping up water as loud as they possibly can. When I unmute the mic.
I
Um,
can't hear them. You're good.
okay, good. They're yeah.
They're
Um,
still peeing, I think.
yeah, no, that's what it sounds like. No. Um, but Elise and I just had a big conversation about this 2 nights ago because I'm not doing a good job of loving myself and taking care of myself and doing things for me, enough for me. Um, I guess what it boils down to, and I need to come to terms with the fact that I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I want to. My grandmother, God bless her, she's taught me all how to be a gentleman, and all of my manners and all of my um, you know just niceness, I guess. If you, I don't know, I feel weird saying that because I'm not like always super nice, but like um, she has taught me that a true gentleman, this is what she used to say, and still does. A true gentleman takes care of everybody else in the room before themselves. And I mean, from a young age, like that's what I always thought a gentleman was. Somebody that opens the door, pulls out the chair, is aware of everybody else in the room, making sure everybody's got their drinks when you're hosting a party, making sure everybody's got their food, their plate. Are you satisfied? Are you good? And then me, like that's from a young age. That was what So I've always had a servant's heart. I've always taken care of everybody else before myself. And so it's really hard. And now I'm in a position, literally, with my new career where I'm taking care of other people. Um, but when do I stop and realize that I need to be taken care of? I need to take care of myself first. Lately, it's like juggling. I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to take care of my wife who's in nursing school, my 7 kids, and they're all individual needs, and then myself. Where do I prioritize myself in the mix of 9 people in this house? I've never been able to do it well, still learning. Um, and I think once I start doing that, things will be a little bit easier. And so, Rob, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'll take a page out of your book, and I think it's just knowing that you have to and putting yourself first and taking the time. Um, for me, that's right now. It's mentally. I'm still battling with that mental aspect of it. So yeah,
Yeah. And I'm a fellow people pleaser as well, which is funny. I don't know. It's interesting because I just have known you guys since I've been kind of on this newer journey. So you guys haven't known me since I was little and stuff, but the way I am now is very different in that sense than how I used to be. But everything you're saying, Murph, it's like, I can relate, buddy. Like, that used to be my mentality a lot as well. And the one thing I can say to you or anybody who is kind of asking themselves that question, of like 16 years of pouring into everybody else, like, damn, that's a long time. And you're worth it. Like, you're worthy of being known for who you are, not what you can give to other people, not what you can do. And that is not where your identity lies. I know that's like what I thought for a long time, that the only worth I had was when I was serving others, or that's where my identity lived, was by what I was doing or not doing. And that's just not true. Like, you're worthy just because you were created to be worthy. And I can speak from experience in that this last year has been really hard, like learning who I truly am, what my identity is, who I am, in a marriage relationship where my husband has been doing the same thing. And it's been really like clunky and messy. And it's been a process of what I always say, like learning how to have little kid emotions in an adult body and an adult life. And but I can tell you that it's worth it. And in the long run, it does end up helping everybody else around you. And I'm not a parent yet, but I am a daughter. And if my parents had learned who they were as individual people before having me, or even during having me, and taught me how to know who I was as an individual person, that would have been extremely helpful. And you can't really help other people learn who they were created to be or who they are if you don't even know who you yourself are. And so I think that's a more palatable way maybe for people pleasers like myself to take it in, that it is a benefit for everybody else in your life. But that also might mean that the people who are in your life that don't support that, they might not be safe people, and that's a painful process too. And that takes there's been a lot of grief for me in that, of going, wow, these people that I thought they should be safe people, or they should be close relationships, and for the first time I'm showing who I actually am, and it's being like discarded or shamed. That's really sad, because I'm not willing to sacrifice myself anymore. So if those people don't like who I actually am, it's like I can't be around them then, I guess. Like, that's a bummer. And it's sad when it's people like your parents or your siblings or your spouse or friends or whatever. There's a lot of grief that comes with that. And I've made the choice that I'm not willing to sacrifice myself for that anymore. And it's opened the door to meet other really cool people that are aligned with that are doing that same thing, which is neat. So above all, you guys know my message is always, you're worthy. And I hope you focus on yourself. It's scary, but it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. Tatiana, I hope that that was a good answer. I answered your questions, and yeah, like I hope that you do feel that way as well.
Yeah,
and
figuring out the whole like being worthy thing, and knowing your worth. That's a tough one. That's really hard.
Can I ask you guys a philosophical question that might make you think about worthiness? It might be a good way to leave. I don't want to cut off your thought though, Murph, if you want to finish.
No. I was kind of hoping you would, because I know you say, you've been saying, and we talk about this stuff off air or whatever,
I don't talk to you.
No. But we talk about this, and I know, Shay, you've had to help me in some situations where I'm showing you in my words or my actions and things that that obviously I don't feel like I'm worthy, and so we've had some serious conversations about it. And so, like, yeah, what have you what tools have you used? I would like these tools, and I think, anybody listening or watching, could probably use them as
Yeah.
well.
Well, this is a question I like to ask people, and it's always interesting to hear the response. So if you guys want to, you're welcome, or people listening, you can respond in real time, or Murph and Rob, you guys can respond to this question. But so when you were born, little baby, when you guys were actually cute, no, I'm just kidding. Do you feel like you were more or less worthy then than you are now, or the same?
From my point of view,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's funny because that really shouldn't matter either. I feel like I am the same in
Mm-hmm.
terms of worthiness. Yeah.
Am I more worthy now than I was when I was born? Is that the question?
Or vice versa? Were you more worthy as a baby than you are now?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, that's I don't know if I can answer that,
Yeah, and that's
honestly.
okay. You don't have to, like, that's just something
Yeah,
to think about. It's okay if you don't have
yeah.
an answer to it. And then the other question I'll ask is, are you more worthy now, or will you be more worthy or less worthy on your deathbed?
Hmm. Yeah,
What do you think,
that's good.
Rob?
Same. Because I think for me, a lot of it is perspective, right?
Yeah.
Me now versus me being born, for example, right? Like to my mom, it could be different. To my kids, it could be different. To me, and the value that I provide my community or my country or those around me, that's one thing too. But I provided a lot to that new mother, right? So I think we're always worthy equally. It's just from different perspectives. And I think the biggest thing that changes is sort of our vision of our worthiness, right?
Yeah. So it's a question to think about. And there's very few things that I am absolute about when it comes to like absolute truth. Like I see both sides or a lot of sides to different things. And there's very few situations where I'm like, oh yeah, that's absolute truth. This is one thing I feel very strongly is absolute truth, is that you are worthy, and that doesn't change. It doesn't change based on what you do or don't do. And so that's why it's interesting to think of it in that way of like, as a baby, you weren't producing much except for poop and vomit. Like you weren't
I
really
was really good at it.
contributing. You still are today,
So
Rob.
good. And then still now, like high level.
So unless you were Rob, who's just like, an amazing baby that brought so much joy to everybody, we didn't really contribute that much. Now, in our whatever age we are, kind of middle of the road, like we probably are contributing more than we did as a baby. But then we'll get to a point on our deathbed where we're not really contributing much at that point either, right? So does our worth change depending on that? I really adamantly feel it does not. But then you can kind of go down that stream a little bit more and go, okay, well, if that's true, let's just in this case assume that that's true, that my worth is the same no matter what I'm doing or not doing. Why and where do I find that worth? And that's a big question that people have to answer for themselves. And I've heard different answers of, well, I find my worth by taking care of my family, or what I contribute to society, or my career, or whatever. That those things are all not very unstable. And so that doesn't really feel like a stable circumstance to kind of root your worthiness in, right? And so that looks different for different people, but like the only stable place I've been able to root it in is what I call God. And that could be spirituality or whatever you want to call it. But it's like, I know that I was created for purpose. And that's where my worth is found, is in how I was created from the very beginning. And that's the only thing I can really trace it down to. But that might look different for different people, which is cool. But I think that's the biggest thing. When you stop placing your worth on what you're doing or not doing, that's when I think you start seeing your real worth. That's been there all along.
Yeah. It's really good.
Chim,
It's really good. I
chimney,
feel like we'd need a whole nother episode to talk about worth, self-worth,
Yeah.
and
Make it
self-love
happen.
and stuff like that. So
Who are you yelling to? My goodness.
I don't know.
Jeez, Rob.
Settle down. You need to
Do
get
it.
some sleep.
Make it happen. I know. Make it so.
I'm
Do
awake.
it.
All right. Well, no, you know what? That's what we will do. We will
Yeah,
make
we'll
it
do it.
happen.
You
Not
know, I'm
next week.
always down. I'm always down to talk about worth. I love
For
it.
sure. I think it would be good. I think a lot of people, Tatiana, I don't think you're the only one who feels that way. Obviously, there's a lot of us that do feel this way. And I think that goes hand in hand with sort of the position that we were in previously. There are a lot of commonalities, I think, with people in the bariatric community. I know that when we think that we suffer by ourselves, but one thing I've learned is there is so many different things in common in the way that we've felt with a lot of the people who are in similar physical situations or health situations as us. And I do think that it's something that we could definitely discuss in a later show. However, next week, we also have a really, really good show. Shay, would you like to tell us about that?
Guys, I did not prep
Oh
beforehand.
my God.
See, what ends up happening is we have these awesome guests, but I like to check with them usually like the Monday before our show. And so I don't want to say, oh, so-and-so is going to be on next
That's
week
a good idea,
without
Rob.
checking. So we will have a really great show, you guys, but I'm going to just, keep the mystery alive and say, you'll just have to come check it out to see who's going to be here.
Surprise.
It's a surprise.
Surprise.
Do you remember who we have next week? Is that why?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Full transparency.
I like that story, though. That was really nice.
No, but that is
Totally
the true
right.
reason too, though. It's like,
Yeah.
even if I did know who it was, I probably wouldn't want to say it because I don't know for sure if they can still make it. So that's why I
That's
wasn't
true.
gonna check.
Okay. Then
I do
won't
the same
say
thing.
it.
Like Sunday night, Monday morning, I'm like, okay, who are we meeting with this week?
Mhm.
And I'm the same way. Yeah.
Okay, but our guest has confirmed with us. But
Okay.
again, if something happens, however, if you are going through this bariatric journey, if you are trying to work out all the details about your diet and about being active and healthy, if you're into sports and different things, we're not going to tell you who.
Oh my God,
Do
who
you
is
know
it?
who? You can say it if
I do.
if they're one
Oh,
of your
okay. I just didn't know
people.
if you want to say.
Yeah.
I thought we were doing
No,
mysterious.
please
Oh,
tell me.
I don't
Who-
know.
So we have Kim next week at Active Bariatric on Instagram.
I
She's a
knew that.
nutritionist. I've done a
I knew that.
podcast with her, but she is a nutritionist specifically that works with fitness goals, right? So
Yeah.
obviously
I'm
it's one thing.
excited.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
awesome.
super
She's
excited.
awesome.
I love Kim. I love
I
being
knew that.
on. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
being
I
on
knew
the
that.
Yeah, me
podcast.
too. I knew that all along.
It goes hand in hand with me. So awesome. I'm very, very excited. We will ask lots of questions. It will be a great one to tune into, guys. So
Yeah.
it'll be good. Guys, thank you very much. Murph, congratulations on the amazing news.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you. I'm super proud of you. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things you got coming up. So it'll be awesome.
I'm gonna have stories.
You're gonna have so
man.
many stories. Oh my
It'd be
God.
crazy.
That is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Shay, thank you very much for yep. And
For being cute,
thanks
looking
for
pretty,
being
talking
cute.
about menstrual cycles, make you
There you
guys
go.
all
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for educating us on the cycles and all
of
that good
womanly
stuff.
things.
Yeah, womanly things. Awesome. And guys,
Next week,
thank you.
bring your V-neck.
Oh,
deep
okay.
V.
Yeah, you want to do deep V's?
Let's
Yeah, we
do
could do
deep
deep V's
V's.
next week.
Like, how
Yeah.
deep are we saying though? Like,
As
I don't want
deep
just
as
regular
you
V.
can
I want deep.
go.
Like the triple V.
Damn, triple V.
Go from
It's like
5XL shirts to 5V.
5XL V. Damn.
Damn.
It's still like a small, but the V goes 5XL
That's
down.
the thing.
Damn.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the thing.
All right, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited. We're gonna have a bariatric fitness coach. We're gonna have deep V's, is going to be awesome. Thank you, Murph. Thank you, Shay. Thank you for all your questions that you guys have asked. And thank you all for tuning in
Thank you,
on
everybody.
another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community.
1 pound at a time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
See
night.
you guys.
Keep it weird. Keep dancing.
Keep it
Talking about
weird.
menstrual cycles. We're gonna get an expert to educate us on menstrual
Ooh,
cycles.
that's good.
I have
Make
a
it
couple people
so.
in
Make it
mind.
happen.
Stop yelling at me.
Stop
I'm gonna
yelling.
chim
Why are you
chimney
yelling
out
at
of here.
Damn. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.